What's the one mistake you are coaching founders on with their sales strategy? 90% of them say ICP selection. They try to boil the oceans, try to sell it to small business, medium business, large businesses, try to sell it to all 7 industries, try to sell it across all 7 continents, and you're just not going to be successful.
Everyone's my customer.
Everyone is. You're just not going to be successful at that early stage. The founders wakes up in Q4 and like, okay, great year, everyone. We got to 3 million. Now we got to get to 9. They do the math on their ICP and it only gets them to 7. I have an idea. Let's go to Europe.
Oh, that opportunity though, it sounds great.
Doesn't it, right?
That guy, that's Mark Roberge. Need a resume? All right, how's this? Founder of Stage 2 Capital, senior lecturer at Harvard Business School, founding CRO of HubSpot, and author of the Sales Acceleration Formula. Today, I'm going to ask him,
Let's talk about ideal customer profile. What is it? How do you think about it? How do you define it?
I feel like every time we've done a prep call for our podcast speakers and asked that same question, like, what's the one mistake you are coaching founders on with their sales strategy? 90% of them say ICP selection. This is a really important topic during the scaling journey. Our ideal customer profile is who we're selling to today to give guidance to the sellers. So that varies quite a bit, right? Now we want to pick the attributes to constrain it. Usually there's 5 to 10. And this is decided by the founder and the product leader, not by the sales team. A big mistake that people make when they're calculating ICP. Let's say when you've been in business for a couple of years and you want to really check that your ICP is right or define your ICP, a lot of people have 2 mistakes. The first one is, where's their inbound demand? Like if you're trying to sell to all of your inbound demand, you're not going to be strategic. You're not going to be successful. You're going to end up boiling the ocean. The second one is they'll say, where's their lowest CAC? Where's the highest percentage close rates? Yeah, that's fine to like minimize your cost per sale, but it's really more about the lifetime value, maximum lifetime value. That's how you want to identify or evaluate these customer segments to calculate your ICP. Just think about it. If you had one segment that had a really low CAC, very easy to sell, but also a low LTV, and then you had another segment that had a high CAC, but a very high LTV, usually that means these folks are staying with you forever and they significantly pay off that CAC. So there's a little bit of balance there. You just need to lean more into the LTV. Okay, so what we're doing here is I'm gonna show you a framework, a template on how to define the ICP. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing a handful of rows here. And these are firmographic things like revenue, employees, location. Do they have a CFO? These are things that usually they're public information. A salesperson can tell before they talk to them that they're in ICP or not. So we're not doing things like they have budget, they have a need, they have urgency. Those are things that are going to solve for later with like pipeline creation and qualification, okay? You're also seeing 3 columns, green, yellow, and red. Okay, so what we have here is that in the green, that's perfect fit. Like, let's sell those all day. And that means like, if we're building an outbound email list, if we're building a cold calling list, we're only gonna include green companies. Red means do not sell them. If you meet them at a trade show, say, thanks very much, let's keep in touch, we might be ready for you in 3 years. If you get an inbound lead, let's put them into like a multi-year nurturing. We are not selling to them. They're in Asia, they're a huge company, whatever. These are companies that are just not a fit for us. Yellow is that sort of like gray area. We're not sure. We don't have enough conviction that they're in green so that we're gonna cold call them. But if they came inbound or met us at a trade show and they're just like, we really are excited about this space, we love what you all are working on, then okay, we can sell them if there's a high level of inbound engagement. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a very simple framework on how to define your ICP. So you can get yourself a copy of that template in the link in the description.
So what's guidance like at product market fit?
Yeah, so that's just general guidance on ICP development. So now we're back in like science of scaling, we're at pursuit of product market fit, right? So we're just trying to like prove customers over and over. We don't really understand our business that well yet. We don't understand, do we have the right product? Are we selling the right market? So clearly the ICP is an important foundational element of that. So we're gonna go in with a hypothesis. Like, I think we're building this for people in healthcare and finance that are between 50 and 500 employees and based in North America. So we have some conviction on that. Now, during the product market fit phase, we want to purposely explore the periphery of that. Okay, so if we're going to talk to 20, 30, 40 customers, more than half of them will be right in that hypothesis. But the other half will be in the periphery. Maybe they're in technology, not healthcare and finance. Maybe they have 1,000 employees, not 500. Maybe they have 5. Maybe we'll talk to 1 or 2 in Europe, just to test the periphery of this to see if our hypothesis is right. If we're seeing really great sales success, but more importantly, great success with our product, and in the periphery we're not, now we've got a lot of conviction on our ICP. So that's really the key in the product market fit phase is we have conviction, we have hypotheses, but we're exploring the periphery and pivoting until we have that right and that bullseye correct.
Okay. And then as you move to go-to-market stage, that's going to change again.
It will, because at that point we've got conviction, right? So I don't want to be exploring the periphery as I'm progressing. It's like, okay, we've got it. We are selling to 50 to 500 employee companies in healthcare and finance based in North America. I want to just fill our funnel with that. Yes, we still have the green, yellow, red. Maybe some of those periphery ones are defined in the yellow. Some of them are definitely in the red as well. But we have our bullseye and we're just going to go after that and scale. Now, the big mistake there is attention, oftentimes with our investors. Because I know a lot of you might be trying to attract investment, maybe venture capital. And as you know, investors in venture capital like to invest in big market opportunities. Usually the initial ICP is not a huge $1 billion market. It's usually not multi-continent, it's pretty strict segment, et cetera. And that's fine. So the mistake that people make is they try to boil the oceans, try to sell to small business, medium business, large businesses, try to sell to all 7 industries, try to sell across all 7 continents, and you're just not going to be successful.
Everyone's my customer.
Everyone is. You're just not going to be successful at that early stage. So my most predictable, successful path to scale at that point is just right in that bullseye. We just have to manage the investor and help them see that we can expand that TAM and that ICP over time. They need to believe that we can expand into $1 billion market, but not have everything proven out right away. So I really want to go from 0 to 1 and 1 to 5 within that ICP constraint.
As you're managing these investors and telling them there is expansion possible here, how are you planning that out for expansion?
Yeah, it has to be closely codified. Okay, so there's a huge mistake that we see here, and I have a hypothesis to why. Okay, so now you followed the playbook so far. You explored the periphery. You've got your ICP defined. You're filling the funnel with those ICP folks. You've scaled to $1 million. Took a year. Then you scaled to $3 million. Took a year. Now you have a plan to scale to $9 million. Well, now you start to think okay, this ICP is going to get me to 10 million, but it's not going to get me to 50. And so what normally happens, and this is a huge mistake, is the founders wakes up in Q4 and okay, great year, everyone. We got to 3 million. Now we got to get to 9. And they do the math on their ICP and it only gets them to 7. So here's what they do. I have an idea. Let's go to Europe. Or I have an idea. Let's go upstream. They've never sold anyone in Europe. They've never sold anyone at upstream. But they commit to the board and say, okay, we're going to scale to 7 million through ICP, and we're going to launch our European office, and we're going to get 2 million in revenue next year from that, even though we've never sold a deal in Europe.
Oh, that opportunity though, it sounds great.
Doesn't it, right? And the problem is they didn't experiment with new expansion in advance. When you started the business, you weren't here's my business idea, here's my product idea, here's my market idea, and I'm going to do 2 million next year. No, we've learned from the lean startup and these concepts of product market fit that we have to go through these sequences, and you have to repeat that same process when you look to expansion into the next market. Okay, so as we're scaling from 0 to 1, from 1 to 3, from 3 to 9 in our defined ICP, that's a multi-year journey. And that gives us time to run experiments in the potential expansions. Okay, so directionally, we're probably investing 90% of our resources, salespeople, marketing spend, et cetera, building product into the known ICP that we're scaling. And we might be reserving 10% of our resources to run experiments for expansion. So maybe we put a rep or 2 in Europe a year or 2 before we need them to go through product market fit, go to market fit, and hopefully get them into growth. Maybe put a rep or 2 into the enterprise a year or 2 before we need them to go through those sequences. And then cross our fingers if we run 3 experiments, hopefully one opens up, and that's going to be our 10 to 50 journey.
Who are you putting on those experiments? You're probably not going to put your best rep on it.
No, you're not. So this gets right back to the science of scaling model. If you look at it, it's like your worst sales hire at the product market fit phase is the number one salesperson at Workday, right? Because they're like at a very mature company, here's the sales comp plan, here's the pitch deck, here's the playbook, here's your manager, here's your training. You don't have any of that. The person that you're putting on that experiment for either Europe or enterprise is the same as your first rep at your company. Someone that can they adapt to change very well. They communicate with product and engineering very well. They do great consultative selling because how you talk about the product and how you think about the market is probably going to change. So if you're going out there in a consultative manner, that's going to help. So there's very close alignment between the first sales hire at your company and the type of person you want to put in these experiments.
That's a great growth path career for them.
For them, for sure. Exactly.
Are there other experiments that you're seeing people do nowadays? I feel like those are very traditional.
Yeah, absolutely. So it could be a new channel, partnership is a good example. And also just the exploitation of new technology like AI, right? That's a huge thing. It's okay, great. We've got a team of SDRs that are cold calling. Well, hey, let's run an experiment with this SDR that's actually has sort of a sales rev ops feel to them and is a little technical and actually is a really good experimenter. Let's team them up with an AI agent and see if they can redefine the formula. So it comes in it can be market, it could be product, it could be channel, it could be new technology.
Interesting. So you were saying how the founder is sort of the initial one to define the ICP. As you scale, are they still the one who's kind of in charge of that?
Yeah, it's a great question. It depends on the business, but for the most part, it lies in product. The product manager, they're sort of the owner of who are we building this for? And then, sales and marketing is sort of a recipient of that decision. All right, so hopefully that gives you some good guidelines on ICP. We've seen a pattern on this show that it's a major pothole for founders to sell to too many people early on. And so the ICP is different than your TAM. Your total addressable market is the long-term market that you'll be able to exploit. The ICP is who you're exploiting today. Keep that in mind. Point number 2, when you define the ICP at the product market fit phase, you're probably wrong. So form a hypothesis, but as you start acquiring customers, acquire a decent amount within your hypothesis, but explore the periphery. And what you'll find is once the periphery type customers are not succeeding as well with your product as your main hypothesis, then you've got it right. But give yourself that opportunity, give yourself that option to pivot. Point number 3, as you move to go to market fit phase, constrain it to that ICP that you found. Your best path, your most predictable path from 0 to 1, 1 to 5 is going to be within that ICP. But point number 4, you need to have experiments to open up more ICP and more TAM. That journey from 0 to 1 to 3 to 10, that's a multi-year journey. So use 90% of your resources to exploit the known in your ICP and use 10% to find the new, to run 2, 3, 4 experiments on new TAM opportunities, new ICP opportunities. Hopefully one of them works out with product market fit and go-to-market fit, and that becomes your 10 to 50 journey. ICP is a killer. Hopefully these guidelines don't make them a pothole for you, but an advantage. My name is Mark Roberge, and this is the Science of Scaling.
You got this. Thanks for watching.
No, I'm not going that corner.
No?